Good evening, well, afternoon, going into evening. This is Tony, better known as Heal and Reveal on Facebook or T Jinx on Instagram. And if you're on this page or this YouTube channel, of course, you know me as Heal and Reveal Tony Jenkins. Um, Again, trying to get familiar with these Pokemon cards that I decided to basically turn into a Oracle slash Tarot tool or Divination tool in general, I should say. So I'm using my intuition, put them to the test with my version of the past life spread. I have a normal version that I already use, doing normal tarot cards or oracle cards. So I want to see if I can pull the energy out of these Pokemon cards. And so I already know who the subject is. They're fine with me posting this, so here we go. The first card speaks towards gender. Now, by my format, odd numbers are male. So this is a male lifetime because the number on the card is a 70. The card itself is a Fletchinder. A little bit about that card itself is that this is somebody who's just trying to find their way, and their primary energy from my intuition is saying that they're having to break away from their family. They're kind of like in one of those situations where the family wants to keep a close eye onto them. This could play out, and I have to find out further along the card reading. This could play out to where they are in an embattled zone, such as war zones or an impoverished area, something like the Dark Ages, where it's just not safe to be out and about or too exposed. So again, this is a male lifetime, and it'll probably play out again in his major identity, which is the third card, but it's really going to be about him finding himself. And that's what I'm getting from the peck off, which means he's needing to break off from the nest. But he's also, going to be kind of rough about it, is what it feels like. The second card is his family dynamic, and it's the Lantern card in reverse, and that's a 100 on it. So again, this is a sense of duty. The family dynamic is that he's going to be, it's kind of playing out a little bit in my mind already. He's bound to family duty. Family is everything. Family is 100. All you need to know and all you need to be concerned about is family, but it's a trap. It is the familial sense of duty is what is going to be stopping him from completing his life lessons if he doesn't find a way to break free, I should say. And the reason why I say that is because the lantern, the figure on the card, is basically the same thing as an anglerfish. You know how down deep in the abysmals of the ocean, it's real dark down there. There's no light. But there are certain creatures who can turn their light on and draw in all other creatures. Once they draw them in, then they consume them. So that lantern playing out in the family aspect is that he is being brought into a family to where that's supposed to be all he knows, and that's supposed to consume his whole time, is the benefit of the family. And and the energy tied to the family is it's designed to take him down. It needs to hold him back. Remember, he wants to peck off. But the family dynamic is saying, we're going to take you down. And it's not malicious per se, but it's just more ancestral and DNA lineage garbage, to where blood is supposed to be thicker than, water being the emotions or your sense of self in general. So that's what the family is saying. Now, going into his third card, which is his major identity or personality, it's a Beezle. Okay, Beezle is based on a weasel. And it's a 6 energy. And so he's coming into the energy of where he has to find his foundation, and he's going to have to weasel his way out. He's going to have to weasel his way out in the sense of the primary energy from the card is a razor fin. He's going to have to be real sharp about how he does things. He's going to have to keep his shield up and understand that he's going to have to cut them ties. But at the same time, they're going to pretty much stoke him into staying still through his emotions, and that's that water gun. The water gun is saying that every time he starts to stand up for himself and get ready to fly away, then they're going to hit him with that emotional stuff about you're betraying the family and this is all we got, look at where we're at, yada yada yada, and they're going to shoot him down emotionally. So he has the major identity or personality of somebody who is wanting to truly be free, and he's willing to weasel his way out by putting his shields up. But it seems like every time he gets halfway successfully free, and my intuition is telling me it's more the mother. The mother component Okay, a mother and a little sister. And you have to bear with me. I'm using my intuition and pulling energy from the card. So sometimes it tells me more than what you're going to see. But what it's telling me is that the mother and his little sister was his connection to that existence. He would break free of, any other sense of duty to the father, and it feels like the grandfather. But the mother and his little sister would always draw him back in. And it wasn't that they were manipulating him, but he just didn't want to leave them stranded in the dynamics that they already set up in. So going into card number 4, it's the critical situation for that time period. The critical situation was Pikachu in reverse. Think about Pikachu. He just wants to be charged up properly. He doesn't want to be overcharged, but he doesn't want to be depleted. So the critical situation is where he's just basically trying to find his identity by just being balanced. And that speaks towards the 60. It's still more foundations. He's trying to find out who he is. The critical situation for a lot of people, and by I mean critical situation, this is kind of like what's going on with the planet at that time. There's a lot of people who are just trying to get their energy back in. This feels like a romanticism period. So, okay, that's probably going to play out in the next card, which is how long ago? Yeah, it will. The nuzzle energy that's coming off of the card is that love is supposed to be the primary component that they're pushing or teaching during the time period. So I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around the romantics and the Renaissance period. And unfortunately for him and for a lot of people, that Romeo and Juliet energy is what's coming off. Quick attack. It's like find somebody else who has the same struggle as you. People who just want to fly away and find their identity. And you hook up with them because it's, again, the romantic period. And it's the energy that pulls you because love being the concept that we have bought into, love can fill you up or love can burn you out. He's more or less trying to get the energy in so it can be filled up. And so he's seeking for somebody else with that same energy. And that's part of the issue too, from what I'm feeling, is that he has found somebody with that same energy that complements his, but that duty to family and the fact that they're pulling on him emotionally from the mother and the sister is what's keeping him still, more or less. And I think that's enough on that one. Going over to 5, this is the time period card. How long ago did this occur? My system is set up normally, and I'm not going to divulge my system, but the system, the way I got it set up is this is approximately 600 years ago. So if we're in 2018, that's 1418. I don't have I do, and I'll probably try and look it up, but just going off of that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that was like right around the Dark Ages or Renaissance, 1400, somewhere around there. And I'll try and get to that as I'm going through the reading. But this was roughly 600 years ago, or right around 2018, and it was a highly emotional period. It was a highly emotional period where it was like emotions ruled all things, and that's why it's in a bubble. And Capricorn energy, traditionalism. Okay, yeah, there's the horsey is the figure on the card, and horsey to me always comes off as a sea goat or a seahorse. So again, I'm going to go with that. This was a lot of Capricorn energy going on, which if you know anything about Capricorns, they have a sense of traditionalism. So this was a time where tradition is supposed to trump everything. And bear with me a little bit. I'm not going to try and take up too much time on this video, but I want to see what was going on the planet in 1418. 1418 major events. So I'm using my secondary phone. But I'm going to continue on. So going on over into number 6 is the reaction to the situation. Remember, the situation itself saying people are just trying to find a way to be charged. They just want to find a way to be even. The reaction to the situation is an Inke. And Inke is a 50. It's a manipulation, but it's also movement. Reading the information on the card, it says it flashes the light emitting spots on the body, which drains its opponent's will to fight. It takes the opportunity to scuttle away and hide. Okay, that fits. His reaction was he used that weasel ability. Not only that weasel ability, but from the weasel ability he had the razor fin, where he would cut free whenever he could, and so he would rip off and get away for as far and as long as he could until his side beam was his detriment. That connection to his mother and the connection, to his little sister. Whatever the major thing was, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna see if I can get it to come up. Feels like Italy anyway. Historical events in Italy, 1418. Let me see. Thinking off the top of my head, I know there was the time of Iberia. So there was where the Turks and the Berbers had taken over Spain because it was called Iberia then. So this was right before the Vandals and the Visigoths and Queen Ferdinand and all them other characters. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand bound together and came and took back over. So somewhere around there. So this is some Renaissance feeling type stuff. Nothing really major sticking out except for, again, more Italian and English rule type stuff. But wherever he was at, he would break free and he would get away until that psychic connection between his mother and his little sister would draw him back in. So he would use his ability as that weasel and he would find his way free, but he would always re-imprison himself. And it was, from a sense of admirability on why he would do it. So I can't even be mad at him. Now, his life lesson for that time period was a fletchling. Remember, he came into here as a male energy, just trying to find his way and fly. His life lesson was basically to learn how to get to the point of being the fletch finder where he finds his way. He starts out as a baby fletchling, and he's going to have to go through a bunch of trials. So this is like a life filled with lessons and some that were going to be dropped off and some that were going to be picked up, depending on the way he went left or went right. So the acrobatics on this one mean that this was going to be pretty much the whole picture. Everything was going to be about his reactions. Is he going to honor what he knows he need to do, or is he going to submit to a higher sense of honor to family? And unfortunately and fortunately, the way the universe is set up from my perspective is there is no right or wrong answer. If you decide to honor another person's energy more than your own, it's allowed. If you decide to honor your own energy, as long as you're not hurting others, it's allowed. It's a matter of choices. Everybody got choices. So enough on that. But again, it was a balance. Whichever one he decided to choose would set him up for future and concurrent life cycles. So that was his life lesson, was for him to find his own way and to be able to deal with whatever was thrown at him and to understand that whatever choices he made were pretty much going to be his choices. Number 8, the influence of that life cycle on the present was a wormhole. Think about the wormhole. It's a caterpillar. It's a wormhole in reverse. It's a 6. It set the tone for whatever current cycle he's going through right now. But he's in the caterpillar phase, so really what they're saying is the lessons that he picked up from this life cycle here are coming to a fruition. And being that we're under a 9, and I'll have to talk to him, hopefully he's made peace with a lot of family tie issues, because he does have the cocoon ability. Being he's a wormhole, it's a time for him to metamorphosize out of those, I'm not going to say false, but out of those detrimental sense of responsibilities that he's picked up. So he can get out. He can either stick with the flock, even when the flock is what's killing him, or he can tackle his issues and set a new foundation. Number 9, how he can honor that past life. Something to acknowledge from that life. And it's a tail-o. A tail-o is just kind of like a sparrow. The card says it dislikes cold seasons. They migrate to other lands in search of warmth, flying over 180 miles a day. What he needs to honor is that when he has that pull, he has to honor that pull. You cannot be held down and you cannot be scared of getting caught along the way. Again, like what it was saying, is that it does not like cold seasons. Sometimes it's going to be hard things you got to go through to get to higher ground. So you can run. What he needs to honor is when you are running from the situations within yourself, they still are attached to you and they're still running right behind you. So he needs to sit still and deal with them in the sense of double pecking them. He needs to cover them from both angles. You cannot run from one thing and run into another. That is compounding a lesson. If you have not dealt with step A, by the time you get to step B, you now have step A and B to deal with. So you have to complete one lesson before you go on to the other, or you're going to pick up like how his life cycle is showing here. he compounded his lessons by, again, admirably bowing down to the connection he had to family, even though it was a false sense of family. And so that kind of put him to where he's at right now. He needed to acknowledge that his decisions are his to make, but you have to honor the experience in full, or else it just keep compounding and following behind you. The number 10 card is put wisdom to work. How can you apply past life experience? So he needed to honor the fact that his choices were his. How can he apply it? It's the hippopotamus, and it's a 9. It's a time to bring things to an end. Again, he had to peck through it. Right over here, he's need to tackle it. You're going to either tackle it and grow through it, or you're going to let it roll you over it, because it's going to end up tackling you. And think about what I was saying about a hippopotamus. If you've seen me do these readings before, is think about a hippopotamus. They look like they're some of the most friendly and docile energy creatures in existence. You see a picture of a hippopotamus on TV or in cartoon, they're always fun-loving. But if you watch them in nature, them things will rip you apart quicker than, you know, a wildebeest or a hyena. They're vicious. So he needs to understand that he cannot just be... What's the best way to put it? He needs to honor the duality of his existence. He can be soft on the outside, but still honor the ferociousness of his soul. He does not have to bow down and dim his own energy just for the benefit of others. So he has that ability to overcome all things. We all do. But this guy is really sitting pretty good with it. He's under a 9. It's at his highest potential, and we're under a 9, and we're in an 11. He's under the highest potential to end the cycles that he's picked up if he would just simply tackle them and not let them tackle him. And then he can, you know, safely be that hippopotamus type energy. And, you know, I'm friendly and fun-loving, but don't mess with me. And a lot of us would like to present ourselves as that anyway. The last card on this reading, I have more, but I'm stopping it here at 11. The last card for this reading is the looking forward card. What's requiring attention now? If you remember, his life lesson was a fledgling. What's requiring attention now is his life lesson. It's the same card. He has to pay attention to the way he's pulled left and right. Is he allowing family to manipulate him? Is he out here seeking to develop a family so that he can manipulate himself, is what it feels like. So he's got a duality with it. He's probably already been through a lot of family situations where it's like, man, family is the one that's doing me in. But at the same time, he's wanting to carry that viral sense of, I need my own family so that I can build these same cores with them. And that's kind of like a coercion of mindsets to where we will buy into our turmoil, and therefore we will produce a new set of that same turmoil. Because, you know, you hear people say, I'm where I came from. Sometimes you got to let go of where you came from so that you can be where you're at. So not an overall bad life with this reading. It worked out a little bit better than I thought. Again, 14, 18, whatever was going on around there. If we got any history buffs, I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in between Italy and Iberia, and possibly some trickle down from England. But I know they had a lot of influences going on around the world around that time. So it could be some East India trade company type level stuff. Something's going on around there. And I'll try and figure it out on my own. But this was a Pokemon reading. Got to catch them all. Past lives and all. Peace and wholeness.